Hi, my name's Logan with SnowDiverters Northwest, based out of Newport, Washington, here in the United States. And today we're going to be walking you through an installation on one of our snow diverters. For this example, we're going to be using our SD-18 version. Now, let's get into the box and show you what's inside. Inside the box, you'll find a number of supplies. First and foremost, the installation manual and instructions for assembly. You'll also notice a brace. We'll get into that a little bit more later. We'll have carriage bolts and self-tapping screws. You'll need your own 7/16 wrench for the assembly. Of course, the diverter itself comes in two parts and will require assembly, which we'll get into in just a second. Not included, but necessary, is butyl sealant tape, which we'll demonstrate the use of during the installation, and also galvanized roofing screws, which we'll also demonstrate the usage of during our installation later. For the assembly of this, these two parts will come together along this spine here. We've included carriage bolts and their corresponding nuts for easy installation. Insert them into these pre-cut holes and tighten them down from the inside here. You want to finish tightening with a 7/16 wrench. And that should do it. Your snow diverter is now assembled. When it arrives to you, it'll be in roughly a 90-degree format, as you can see here. Typically, you'll want it to be tighter angle than that, which can easily be done by bending it with your hands. We've also included a recommended angle printed on the instruction sheet that could be laying over your snow diverter that can give you a rough place to start, which we'll get into more in the installation. You'll also notice that you have a few things left over, primarily that being this brace, which will be installed once it's on the roof with self-tapping screws, which we've included for easy installation. Other than that, your snow diverter is assembled, ready to be installed. Let's head outside and do that now. Now that we've got our snow diverter assembled in the shop, we can come outside and we're going to demonstrate an installation using our roof model here. First, again to note, as it comes in the packaging and once you've assembled it, you'll notice that it's at roughly a 90-degree angle. Ideally, you're going to have a tighter angle than that. Another easy way, especially on our 18 here, is to note when the corners come together at the bottom. That's going to be a good rough starting place for you. So we'll do that now. Nice easy bend. Now we've got a better angle for protecting our stovepipe. Next, we can bring it over to the stovepipe here and see how it's going to fit up. So you'll notice on roofing paneling, of course, you're going to have ribs. On this, we've got our high ribs are only 7/8 of an inch. So on the side of our diverter where we're going to snap out our tabs, we're only going to have to snap out the lower 1-inch tab. If you have a higher rib, you can of course snap out that 2-inch tab so long as they're clearing. Likely you're going to have to snap out a couple of tabs to make sure that it clears the ribs. And of course it's going to depend on where this stovepipe is within that panel is going to depend on which ribs you're going to need to clear, therefore which tabs are going to be snapped out of the diverter. That's why we've cut tabs, notched them all the way down the diverter so that they can be removed at any point. Now, this is one of the great benefits of our design here is that you can just stay on the roof. You've got all your tools, all your supplies, take maybe a set of lineman's pliers and snap out those tabs while you're up there. No cutting required, no angle grinders. So just snap them out, goes right over the ribs, and you're ready to finish the installation. Now that we know where our high rib is going to be running and which of these tabs need to be removed, we've marked them with an X with our Sharpie as we were holding this up to the stovepipe. So the next step, which again is what makes this design and our snow diverter so much more easy to use than some of our competitors, is that you're able to just now, no angle grinder, no metal cutting saws, just snap out that tab. Just a couple bends back and forth, and you'll see that we've just removed that tab that goes 1 inch high. If you had a rib that was higher than 1 inch, you would want to remove that second tab. But for us, this will be just fine. So we'll just go through and remove the next few tabs that we need to remove in order to clear our ribs. And then we'll be able to flushly mount it onto the roof. So just like we did on this side here, we're going to want to remove some on this side. Now, if you're able to place it symmetrically over your ribs, then they may be the same tabs. Otherwise, they could be further or higher up the diverter, depending on the side, depending on how your ribs are, depending on how your stovepipe is put into that panel. But for us, we're going to snap these out, again, marked with Sharpie. And now we can reach over here and pop these tabs out also. Just quick back and forth here. We'll snap it out. And then you just move on down. Make sure that you're keeping as many tabs as you possibly can. So you're going to want to limit that hole to just what you need to clear that rib. It's going to take a couple, but just don't do too many. Only what's necessary. All right, there's our last tab out. And this has now 2 clear notches in it, which are ready to go over the ribs on our roof. Now that we have these tabs removed to clear our high ribs, we're going to want to put some butyl tape. You can pick this up at a local hardware store, and we'll place it on each of the remaining tabs. So go ahead and just press it into there, and you're going to want to do that on this surface, this surface, this surface, because those are now the surfaces that you're going to be using to mount to your roofing panels. Now that we've got the snow diverter assembled, tabs are removed to clear our high ribs here, and we've got our butyl tape on, it's ready to be solidly mounted into our roof. Now, because those tabs have been snapped out, we can flush mount the tabs that are left into the roof for a good secure connection. We're going to place it, of course, behind the stovepipe so that any ice, which is really what we're worried about, ice moving down the roof, is going to be broken up as it comes past this or just slide around it, and we're going to miss the stovepipe. We're not going to damage the stovepipe. Of course, that's why we have this here. Don't worry about any snow getting in this area. That'll happen from snow falling, but it's not really going to be an issue because really what we're worried about is the ice. That snow will just melt and move away. For the final mounting, we'll put screws into the inside here in the pre-cut holes. We can just use some standard roofing screws, galvanized with a sealing washer on them ideally. Just go straight into the hole here. And now it's secured. We recommend filling all of those holes so that you have a really strong, secure connection and you don't have to worry about it. Now that the diverter's firmly mounted to the roof, you'll notice that we still have one part left in the package, and that's going to be this cross brace. This cross brace member just adds extra strength and stability, especially on these larger diverters. You may notice that there are no pre-drilled holes in the side of the diverter here. That's because we're not sure what your angle is going to look like, what the size of your stovepipe is, etc. So we want you to set that angle and then just slide this up until it meets that angle. And then we've included some self-tapping screws that can easily be run into the pre-cut holes in the cross brace member, and they can mount right into the diverter. Thanks for following along as we demonstrate the assembly and installation of this snow diverter. Now you've got your SnowDiverter Northwest diverter installed and ready to protect your stovepipe from snow and ice for years to come.